Qatar versus Ursula, the battle for LNG production. Next on the Energy Newsbeat Daily Standup.
Backlash against EU net zero regulations, Qatar to threaten cut LNG supplies. You can't buy this kind of entertainment. In a bold escalation of tensions over European Union's aggressive push to net zero emissions, Qatar has actually issued a stark warning. Comply with our demands or face a cutoff of vital LNG. This threat revealed in a leaked correspondence. Michael, this is critical because it impacts the United States. By Qatar, the world's third largest LNG exporter has no intention of bowing to the requirements of the net zero mob in the EU. And this is critical because we are going to follow this critical story because this is going to be impactful to the United States because President Trump may or may not, we don't know how he's handled the EU trade language yet. We're waiting for the paperwork. If he has not handled the horrific net zero language, this is going to be critical.
No, absolutely. And I think, we've talked for years now about Qatar breaking and trying to really control the global LNG trade. And I think it's interesting that now they're using that as a weapon in order to help placate counter, I should say, what the EU is trying to do with these aggressive pushes towards net zero. I find it's completely interesting. I love third paragraph. Qatar, the world's third largest LNG exporter, has no intention of bowing to these requirements. Here's the quote. Can I just read the quote?
Absolutely.
This is Qatari Energy Minister Saad Al-Kababi. Neither the state of Qatar nor Qatar Energy has any plans to achieve net zero in the near future. Oh, got him right where it hurts.
You got to love a good quote on that one. That one is not the IR guy of the week because he's speaking truth.
That is IR guy of the week.
Oh, okay. So he is the IR guy of the week speaking truth. I didn't understand that one.
Sometimes you get it for a nice slick lie.'s you get it for the truth. Okay. We're giving it out this week for the truth.
For the truth. Let's go to the next story. Overlooked vulnerability could cripple the America grid. Michael, we have talked about this before, but it's sneaking back up again. It's the transformers, baby. In an era where artificial intelligence and data centers are transforming the energy landscape around power grids, a silent yet potentially devastating threat, a fragile supply chain. We talked about this on yesterday's podcast with the additional products and loopholes and backdoors that China has put into the U.S. grid and global supplies in wind and solar stuff. This is the same thing for transformers. We are now at a 50 weeks in 2021 was what the essential device waiting list was, to an average of 127 weeks in some specialized units, taking, Michael, up to 4 years. This, right now, we only produce about 20% of the related equipment as needed for the electrical power and transmission systems. This is where people like the folks that we've talked to in the past really make a difference. Mark Lancaster was very apropos in the last podcast I did with Mark, and that is get hold of contractors like Mark that understand microgrids and how to redesign your requirements to a phased in approach. I cannot stress this enough right now. Start today. If you're a CEO, you have to go out and understand your power requirements to keep your business running because we got us a problem on the horizon.
Yeah, I find it insane that the U.S. only produces about 20% of the transformers and related equipment needed for both electrical power and various transmission systems. We've also seen prices skyrocket 60 to 80% relative, or really since January of 2020. So pretty crazy.
And again, get a hold of the expertise. If you've got a question like that, shoot me a note and I want to visit with you. If you're a CEO and you're wanting these kind of questions, we also have Reese Energy Consulting, who absolutely can help source data centers and those kind of things for natural gas. Let's go to the next story, Michael. As the EU and US reach historic agreement, oil prices climb. This I actually put out last night, and we were seeing how we recorded on yesterday's show, but this one is actually the EU. The reason this story is important, EU investment pledges. The EU is committed to injecting 600 billion in new investments into the US on top of existing expenditures. I believe somebody said tariffs might actually work. I believe that was me. Energy purchases. The most eye-catching aspect is the EU's pledge to buy $750 billion worth of U.S. energy products. However, Michael, here's the catch. If they're going to slap the EU restrictions on net zero on the U.S. oil and gas, this is a poison pill in the making for the Trump administration. He's going to have to come back and negotiate this. I think Secretary Chris Wright has got a gigantic warning label on his desk about this. He needs to make sure that he does not miss this one.
Yeah, the other person that came out this weekend and agreed with you on tariffs was Bill Maher. So now all of a sudden you and Bill Maher agree on something. So who would have thought that?
I did not have that on my bingo card.
No,
but this
absolutely.
morning, yesterday morning, on Monday morning, President Trump, we rolled a clip where he said, actually, the life expectancy of a wind farm was 8 years. Where did he hear that number? I'm the only one that has ever drawn a line in the sandbox and said it is an 8 year. It's not 25. It's not 30 years. It's 8. And it's never been profitable from day one. After 3 years, they start nameplating. So I think they're watching us.
Did you see the face that Ursula made when Trump was going off about it?
And then Keith Starmer after that, he was standing there with Keith Starmer and he's going, I've had 0 people come across my border. How about you? Let's go to this next one. Holy smokes. ASPs for AR7s prove renewables are not cheap. This is from the great Catherine Porter over at Watt Logic over in the UK. And I mean, she is one cool, smart cat. I got to hand it to her on this story. This should finally end the claim that renewables are cheap since they're not even at the first order level. That is the subsidy. They're likely to get higher than the cost generating electrical using gas, even for solar, which is the cheapest of the lot. She goes through really great detail on this again. We again know that the turbine makers have increased their prices significantly, driven by a combination of factors. Tightening warranties after years of claim that hurt their balance sheet, passing through higher raw material and financing costs. This is a horrific problem for the UK net zero crowd. And I'm glad I don't have. Boy, can you imagine pulling what little hair you have left when you look at this as a holy cow Batman? Ed Mildebrand over there in the UK is absolutely a cross between a Muppet and Wallace and Gromit character. Unbelievable.
Well, I also look at it. I can't think of all I'm thinking about is Wallace and Gromit. But I mean, if you go look at the chart in the article, I don't know if we can pull it up here, but the slope of that line is just boom, it's going up. I mean,
it's like, have a great day.
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty unbelievable. I do think that as we get closer and closer to signing these trade agreements, I think it's going to become clear that all of this stuff is getting gutted. So,
but when we see, you and I talked about on yesterday's show, the great David Blackman article on the EPA, we're expecting the EPA to announce any day the Trump elimination of the EPA Obama era regulatory issues, calling CO2 a pollutant. And that is going to go even further across the pond.
We might give a good friend of the show, Gregory Wrightstone, a good old heart attack when that happens. He can finally disband the CO2 coalition. It's done. They've won.
I think that's phenomenal.
That's absolutely. All right. Well, let's jump over and quickly cover oil and gas finance, guys. Before we do that, let's quickly pay the bills. As always, thank you for checking us out on the world's greatest website, energynewsbeat.com. Hit the link in the description below for all of the timestamps, links to the articles. Also, check us out and subscribe to us via our Substack, theenergynewsbeat.substack.com. Really, it's a great daily digest of what's going on in the energy markets. If you want more of Stu's brain in your inbox, which I know can be scary, but if you do, you can go ahead and subscribe via that link, Energy News or theenergynewsbeat.substack.com. Also consider signing up for a paid subscription. It's a great way to help support the show and keep us feeding you news into your inbox every single day. Let's go ahead and also shout out friend of the show, Reese Energy Consulting. Guys, we love Reese Energy Consulting. They're probably one of our favorite people that we get to work with. Guys, if you are if you are all attached to the midstream space, whether you're an upstream company who needs marketing help, whether you are a midstream company who just needs extra support, the team at Reese Energy Consulting can help you get what you needed. They support all ranges of different midstream consulting, from first purchaser contracts all the way through helping you design facilities and everything in between. Guys, they have clients that range from 2 guys in a garage all the way up to the largest publicly traded companies in the world. So if you're wondering, are they a fit for you? The answer is yes, guys. That's ReeseEnergyConsulting.com. Tell them Energy Newsbeat sent you, and they will probably give you a 300% discount on your services. That's a joke, but it might work. It might work if you tell them where you found them from. So we appreciate that. And finally, guys, investinOil.EnergyNewsbeat.com. If you are interested in filling out our oil and gas portfolio survey, check it out on our website, investinOil.EnergyNewsbeat.com. If you fill out this portfolio survey, we will send you a bunch of information, a link to a great article that I wrote about what to consider when investing in oil and gas. And finally, guys, if you qualify, we will send you and point you in the right direction of some potential vetted operators. That's investinOil.EnergyNewsbeat.com. Let's go ahead and look at top line industry, Stu. S&P 500 flat, NASDAQ up about 0.2 of a percentage point, 2 and 10-year yields. 2-year yields up about 0.2 of a percentage point. 10-year yields up 0.7 of a percentage point. Dollar index up a percentage point, really off the back of this new trade deal, which we will talk about in a second. Bitcoin down about 1.5 percentage points, down to 117,600. So nothing too crazy. Crude oil jumps 2.1 percentage points, or $1.50, up to 66.57, surging again after this Trump EU agreement. Brent oil up to 69.77. Nat gas does not fare too well today, down about 10 cents or 3.25 percentage points, barely hanging on at $3.01. XOP, which is our E&P securities contract, up 1.75. OIH, which is our oilfield services contract, up 1.7 percentage points. And as I mentioned, guys, really this oil bump and this E&P securities bump is really off the back of the EU trade deal. Nothing is officially signed. It was more an announcement, but a lot of what occurred in that announcement was also that he's going to shorten the deadline for Russia to end the war or continue to face sanctions. As we saw, Brent oil actually at this $69 price is actually the highest it's been in about 10 days. And he's reducing, and as I mentioned, he's reducing that 50-day deadline for Russia to finish to 10 to 12 days. So this could get spicy here still. I don't know why. Again, we talked about this on the show yesterday, this idea of being aggressive with timelines, and I don't quite understand it. I don't know why he's doing this. I like to think people are smarter than me. I tend to give people more credit than I do because I believe I'm the stupidest person in the room. But I can't understand this moving this 50-day deadline to 10 to 12 days. Do you have any insight on that for us? Stu's on mute, but...
You're on mute. We're we tired of that? No, I have no idea. I absolutely do not understand why he is doing this to himself, because he's not negotiating from a position of strength anymore. And President Putin only understands strength. And you got to understand, what are his hot buttons? I've been telling him what his hot buttons are all along.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting. So, I mean, that's really really the thing. We also saw that US and Chinese officials are meeting in Stockholm today, well, yesterday, as you guys listen to this, as they try to extend their tariff truce before this August 12th deadline. It's going to be real interesting, Stu. We did see that on Monday. That OPEC Plus panel came out and said, quote, stressed the need for full compliance with oil production agreements ahead of their separate gathering next Sunday of the 8 OPEC Plus members to decide increasing oil output for September. So could be very interesting there. That's really all I've got, Stu. Nothing on the earnings front. We're gearing up for a lot more earnings, so stay put. But that's really all I've seen on my end. What about you?
Well, I'm hopeful that we're going to get, once President Trump gets back, the end of the Obama era declaring CO2, and Gregory Wrightstone and the whales will go, yay! So, I'm hoping that comes through in the next week or so.
Yep, absolutely. Well, with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and let you get out of here, get back to work. Stu's going to be rocking a solo show tomorrow. I'm going to be moving, so you're going to be seeing a new background finally. We've had about 2 years with this pretty lame background, so we're going to hopefully see if we can get something better here. But you'll get a solo from Stu on Wednesday. Most likely, you'll hear a solo from Stu on Wednesday. Just depends on how things roll out. But I will be back in the chair next week. And always, guys, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. But for Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. We will see you tomorrow, folks. Thanks for sticking with us.